Hello, everybody. Welcome to the sixth and last, at least for this run, of our Houston Action Digital Communications Support Hours, where we take your questions and challenges and attempt to solve them in real time with you here on Facebook Live. We also spend the front portion of this time together talking about a different skill set. And today we're talking about mapping. I've already seen questions from people who got the email notifications, some who were able to join and some who were not able to join. So I'm looking forward to seeing folks here to interact and for us to be able to get together. So Evan is going to be presenting today. I think, Evan, I heard it a second ago, but I didn't know if you had our intro music. But did I?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got a more appropriate intro music.
Cool. And yes, thank you for noting it's the season finale.
This is it. And I do have to say, Evan has some of the best music taste and playlists around.
And creations. Mm-hmm. I can't quite hear it, but as people are going on, we'll
cool.
Have a listen.
There we go.
Yeah, this is not an eclectic taste, but it's the only one that you could do for.
Perfect.
I think about maps.
Maps, I love it. Yeah. For all the yeah fans out there.
Yep. Yeah, this was in my head the whole time. I was putting together the slides.
2005, baby.
I mean, this is structurally like one of the best.
Agreed.
Songs.
Agreed.
People who are just joining are like, what have I joined? Just kidding. Season finale is actually karaoke, y'all.
Yeah. I'm commandeering this. This is the best of the 2000s. Up next, Sufjan Stevens. And then I'm taking requests. And I'm probably going to reject most of them.
DJ Evan.
Yes. So as the slide suggests, we are in our sixth and final installment of Digital Communication Support Hours. Today, Evan is talking to us about mapping data, specifically using Google's tools. There are a whole lot of tools out there that, are appropriate for different types of activities and skill levels. And today we're starting with Google. Probably because it's the most readily available tool for most folks because they're a global empire. And we are looking forward to talking with everybody. And so we'll spend the first portion of the call talking about mapping and mapping data, and then we'll take questions, challenges related to mapping, not related to mapping at the end. We'll also welcome your feedback here in the comments. This is our last in this installment. We'd like to continue to be able to support Houston in Action members and others moving forward in whatever capacity makes sense when it comes to digital communications. And so, if you have ideas for what that could look like or thoughts on, how we shape learning opportunities for the coming year or the rest of the year, God, it's already May, then please, we'd like to hear from you in the comments. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Evan. Unless I've missed anything in this agenda, please take it from here.
Yeah. No, that is great. Thank you for the intro, Chris. I am just doing my weekly problem with sharing the screen.
If you're like me, if you're like me, you've got two screens and the presentation pops up on the other.
Yeah. It's only doing the, oh wait, is that? No, I don't want this like time thing. I just want it to be full screen.
See, next season we're gonna cover
Using
embedding
slides.
and how to show your screen, but that's another presentation, y'all.
Double screen.
I really feel like a baby boomer.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with being a.
There you go.
I mean, that's how I feel towards data, because, yeah, like we had an earlier conversation today, data and maps is a fairly new thing for me. So I love sitting here and learning new stuff. So I'm in the chair with all my less than tech savvy friends right now.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we will get started like this then. Thank you for being here. Yeah, as Chris had said, this is the last one, but we have all this archived so you can see, you can binge watch the earlier part of the season. So why not? Digital comm support hours are what you make them. Like your whole life. This is like a guidance counselor. So pay attention and come in with a good attitude and get out what you put in. But yeah, but the serious part of that is if you have any questions or things that are related and not being covered, just chime in and yeah, just let us know. And yeah, I think we have like a schedule for this, but the much better outcome of this is that you all join in, tell us what your challenges are, what you're working on, and then we can talk through that with you. And always very happy to go off of the presentation and off of the plan. That said, the agenda is 20 minutes us talking about stuff and 40 minutes you asking about stuff, and then we talk some more. So a lot of us talking. Sorry about that. Yeah, and then yeah, please, as you're going along, drop in questions into the comments or call or text this number. Or just call or text that number after too, if you like prank call, anything. Yeah, we're focusing on maps, not maps, the proper noun, just maps, the kind that you look at on phones and computers. So yeah, as Nelson was saying before, it's kind of it's something that needs a process of demystification. I think people think about data and maps as if it's this huge complicated thing, and people who work in data and maps like to continue that and kind of propagate that notion that it's very huge and complicated, but it actually isn't. Data is just spreadsheets. And so we're going to go through some of the ways that, you know, you don't need to know how to code. You don't need to be advanced in JavaScript and WebGL, just ways that you can jump in using tools that you are most likely already using. And this is, yeah, we're using all Google tools. So Google, while it is a panopticon and destroying society and anti-democratic, it also has free stuff that you can use. So we'll use the free stuff for today and worry about the consequences later. The American way. So yeah, so how do we get started? Geez. All right. We're using the free thing, so that doesn't mean it's necessarily good. This isn't a live link, but we'll open this up. So my maps is, if you want to put together a map on the internet, it's free. It's the easiest one to get started with. So this is what we're going to be working in today. There are more complicated mapping solutions out there, but I think you definitely have to be really aware of what your goal is and what problems you're trying to solve before going anything beyond this, because easy is good. So this is where you get started. And this, if you have a Google account, this is where you create a new map. So we will come back to that in a second. So one example, just to show kind of one concept of what we're building, the museum district put this one together. And so this is a map of just all the museums that are part of the museum district. So you can embed this on the site, you get more information on the side. Yeah, basically points. So if you are walking around here, you open this up and see the locations of everything. So it's an interesting way to view the city, and really quick. This feels to me a lot more useful than getting just a list of addresses. Because even if you know the city really well, it's hard to place exactly where they all are in relation to each other. So we're going to kind of take that, but work with Wix Center data. So what we're going to be doing is building a map showing the locations of all the Wix centers in the city. And so thankfully, David McClendon of January Advisors are kind of like, they are like the leaders of the map. they're big map. They're the map industrial complex in the city. No, I'm joking, of course. They're kind of like the community leaders around mapping. They work with a lot of organizations, including Houston in Action, and do really good work, and are also really available to helping people with what they're working through and sharing knowledge. So this is a map that David had put together for Houston in Action to look at response rates. So this is all response rates for the census, and then there's ways to filter it, select hard to count communities. What we're looking at here, so we want to get the Wix Center data. Wix Centers are a partner resource here. So we are going to look at this list, scroll down, select only Wix Centers, but also if you wanted to make a map for places of worship, libraries, grocery stores, any of this, you could do that too, just for the purposes of having something concise to talk about. So we're going to select Wix Centers. And then we go here. Okay, so we got Wix Centers in there. And then we are going to, and so this is a table of the data that it puts out. So you have the type of institution, the name, the address, contact number, and then any special information. So we hit download table, and that is going to give us, you can't see the pop-up dialog, but so this is going to give us a CSV file, which is kind of, that's a major way the data interacts with map systems and kind of the rest of everything. So we have that. Then I opened it up as a Google sheet, so that way we can take a look. So this is data. And this is the data. This is all the data that we need to make a map. So it's, yeah, like there's no code here. It's not super complicated. This is just a spreadsheet. Same thing that you use for budgets or tasks, or I don't really know what people use taxes, I guess. I don't really know what people use spreadsheets for, except for maps, but probably something in your life that you use a spreadsheet for. Cool, so we have that. Now let's go back to this Google My Maps. So this is when I did it as a test, but we want to create a new map. So this will be kind of our shared map. We'll rename it. So that way we know what it is. This is a map of Wix centers in Houston. Cool. So we have this kind of huge blank canvas. And so we are going to start just by putting in that CSV file. So you go to upload a file, and then it's going to ask you a few questions. So choose your columns to position your place marks. So this is where the address or latitude longitude is. So we have a column named address. So we select that, hit continue, and then this asks, how do you want to title the markers? And so different use cases here, but I think since we have the name of the facility, that should be the title. But of course, if you wanted the type of facility, so if you wanted them all to be labeled as WIC Center, there's use cases where that makes sense, and so you do that. But let's just go ahead and do name.
Hey, Evan.
Finish. Yep.
So in like right now, Google said title your markers. When it says when it refers to markers, it means like maybe what people commonly refer to as pins.
Yeah. So these. So kind of this is. That's a marker. Basically every individual, like every line on the spreadsheet, this process turns it into a marker.
And then that title was that Southwest WIC up at the top.
Yep. And if you ever want to change that, just go to edit, and then this drop down here, and then you can change that across the board.
Nice.
So this is the first step. It's pretty cool to go from this spreadsheet that, maybe if you have been living here for a long time, this means something to you. You can put together the general neighborhoods, but I think no matter what, this is kind of the optimal way to view it. And then, you know what roads it's nearby. For the purpose of this map, let's rename this layer WIC Center, just so we know what it is. And then, and if you want to change the style, maybe these should be red. We can do that, or purple. And then if you want to change the marker, you can do that too. Which could be really helpful that then if you wanted to, like, let's say add locations for offices that your organization has, then if you have offices across the city, then you can more easily tell like which of these locations is the closest in proximity, and maybe like break down a zone or something, which then so then you could add your locations on another layer, and then you could even draw your own shape here. So like, let's say you wanted to kind of divide the city up into a north side area that you could serve, and then maybe a southwest neighborhood that's close to your offices too. Then you kind of have like a really easy readout of which centers are within like which ability to serve. And you can do that for, as big or small areas as you want. So I like this. I think this polygon tool is really cool. And then, you see them all here. You can hit this bucket, paint, change the styles. Can kind of do as much as you want there. And then, so one thing that I kind of think of as the next step is maybe you want to add city council districts as another layer, so you can see which of these WIC centers are in which districts. And so thankfully, the city of Houston has an open data set that I use this quite a bit. I think it's super helpful. So you can download all this. This is just a direct link. I will drop. Oh, I don't have the other thing open, but I'm gonna drop this in the private chat, and maybe Chris or Nelson can drop in the Facebook thing. This is just a link to the open data portal for the city. Yeah, so I am, and this is, it's really cool that the city offers this. There's a few traps with it though, so I'm gonna walk into one of those just to show what it's like. So if we go back to our map and we want to add a layer, we go to import. So you need a CSV, XLSX, KML, or GPX file. This portal lets you download as a spreadsheet, KML, or a shapefile. This spreadsheet is not going to map correctly to Google Maps. There's other uses where it works, but and Google doesn't take the shapefile. So what you want here is the KML file. So download that, select a file, and then, so I'm going to open the KML file that it gave. And so this would have all the city council districts as a shape on the map. And it says the KML file could not be imported because it's over the 5 megabit limit. So just one quick workaround for this. So you have to go to the data tab and then filter. And so this can really only take like 3 or 4 districts at a time. So then you'll have to import different layers, but you could do like these 4 districts at once, then go to download and download the KML for the filtered data set. And so and this shows what you're getting. So it tells you the district number, the current council member, the year they were elected, the phone number to reach them, a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter. And then this is the mapping data, but you won't have to touch that. So let's try with the new KML set. Cool. So then we put a smaller file size in. So this one has for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through and do the whole city, but so here are 2 of the council districts. So you can, so you can edit, make the districts the name, and then, maybe you want to make these blue. So now you have a different way to view it, and then you can see like which one of these WIC centers are in District J. So they have 4 here. K has 2 with 1 on the border. And so that's another thing that I find is pretty helpful, is being able to bring in some of these city demarcated zones. So we did the WIC centers, we did the council districts, to our own areas, and then the last step is just to embed it if you have a website. It's pretty easy. You just hit the 3 dots near the title, click on embed this map, this map is not public, click the share button to allow others to view it. Oh, here's the share button. So you have to share it. This is, yeah, public for anyone on the web, no sign in. So now it's ready to embed. And then this is the code that it gives you. So if you're managing a website, this is the HTML code to drop in. Pretty small footprint for the code. If you have somebody who manages the site, you just copy and paste this and email it or Slack it to them and say, put this up on the site, and then you're done. So yeah, we are about 30 minutes in now. So that's the quick walkthrough on how to make a map. So yeah, in what was that, 15, 20 minutes, we went from just a spreadsheet to having a map that people can interact with, get information, and kind of understand the layout of the city and what resources are available to them a little better.
So we do have a great question.
People are used to. Oh, sorry, what was that, Nelson?
No, we have a question that's a really good one. So Elaine's asking, what does embedded mean? Oh, so when would be a great time to use something, and what does embedding mean?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Elaine. So I can show you one case of when we have used this. So embedding is really just having it be functional on your own website. So this is our community's respond page for Houston in Action. And so these are a number of maps that were built by David at January Advisors. And so this wasn't built in Google Maps, but this is kind of the way that it is. So here it is embedded just as an object on the website that you can interact with. So this isn't hosted by us. This is code from somewhere else. So kind of presented alongside other information that you want to put on the site. It's just on the page for you to explore and use however you want.
Yeah. So I think that's really great, because if somebody's already on your organization's site and they're looking for some data, or you want to show them something, instead of just placing a link there that will send them away, or let's say you want to include some of this information in one of your newsletters, and instead of sending the link to Google Maps, so that map on Google, you can embed it in your site, and then have the person that's kind of consuming this data stay in your site. They can kind of navigate through. So it does make it easier as somebody that wants to look at this map and I'm on this website. If it wasn't embedded, I would actually have to click and it would send me to another website. So that's, I at least that's how I see it. I see it as a nice benefit of having people be able to stay within your site to receive information.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. Thank you, Nelson. And so like here, then the next step is we try to get people involved in outreach in this community. The ability to add context or add action to map. Super cool.
That's a great point. Yeah, because I feel like if you don't embed it, there's no way to add those calls to action, right? Mm-hmm. So that means somebody would have to click out of your website, go to Google Maps, look at the map, and then if they wanted to act on it, go back to your website and find the call to action or the little link to click and do something. So this is a great way. So thank you, Evan, for explaining that. Elaine, that was an excellent question. If you all have any other questions, please go ahead and drop them into the comments. We'll read them out loud, and Evan will do his best to answer because he knows it all.
I do not.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I did have a good question though. So since you have had,
I'll tell you if it's a good question.
All right. So since you have had a lot of experience with this, I'm just curious. For websites that present data in, like, let's say a list, how much more I guess, how much more engagement or how much more does that same data get used or consumed, or if it's presented in a map versus presented just in a list? Because like, let's say you have a million things to do and you're in a hurry and it's easier to just copy and paste the addresses.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into how long somebody stays on my site? Will they visit it again? Will they want to share it? Um, the overall experience they get. Because I hate lists. I mean, to me, my gut would say yes, a website with an embedded map with information on it is a lot easier to read than me going down a list of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any hard numbers or percentages of how this changes people's behavior on a website.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have any hard numbers on it, but I do know, like, anecdotally, it's true. It's true for me, and I think it's something that I mean, I guess really looking back all the way through history, like, people like maps. Yeah. I mean, there's something that, like, instinctually feels right about it. It's and I think it helps, like, even the playing field too. So that way, like, somebody who doesn't know much about the city can understand it, or somebody who's new here. So yeah, and in terms of getting people to stay on your site longer and more engagement, I think it's definitely, yeah, again, like, I don't have hard numbers on it, but yeah, I feel like all these maps, because you can interact with them, and it's different even than just a static image, is, yeah, I mean, you can click around, there's information to explore. I think to anybody with a curious mind, which is, everybody on the internet is curious. It kind of feeds that desire for information and understanding in a way that, like, a list just can't.
That's a great point. Or even a picture. You're very right. I didn't even think about that. Let's say you map out your data set and you take a screenshot of it and you upload that. It's not interactive. That's the benefit of these. You're very right. With these, I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can see where things are in relation to something else that, um, that's just I can control. So I love that interactive portion of it. I think that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have some
you could, like,
questions
zoom in
also.
and try to find your house or, like, a spot that you know.
Absolutely. So, everybody that's joining us, please let us know if you just joined us. Go ahead and shoot us a message, a comment. That way we know you're there. Also, if you have any questions, this is the time where you can ask anything related to maps or not related to maps. I'm also very curious for everybody watching, what maps are you using? Have you used a tool that you've either come across or you yourself are using that you thought was super cool? I do think these are awesome opportunities to connect with each other, learn what we're all doing, and learn from each other. So anything that you want that's on your mind, go ahead and drop it into the comments. We'd love to talk about it. I did have another question for you, Evan, that we
Yeah.
were discussing earlier on, and it has to do on where to find cool data sets. So you did mention the City of Houston's open data set, which was cool. Are there any other places that we could go to find interesting information to map?
Yeah, so the Kinder Institute over at Rice has an urban data platform, and so they have a lot of pretty cool data that most of it is downloadable. So I would just set links show downloadable. But yeah, I mean, you can get building footprints, precipitation levels, Buffalo Bayou Park sediment characterization. I don't know how useful that's going to be to anybody, but
I need that one.
Flood hazard layer, I feel like, is something that I feel like that's something that would be good for a lot of organizations to be looking at seeing, like, what the risk for floods and how that overlaps with all the other really dire needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot to look through. Yeah, I'll put the link in here.
Okay.
Um,
Got it. I'll go.
so yeah, if you're interested in mapping, I would definitely recommend looking through it. So then so you do have to sign up for an account. But yeah, that's pretty doable and yeah, pretty cool. So that's one. Yeah, that's one source that I like a lot.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Then yeah, I mean, January Advisors and their team are putting together a lot of really cool maps all the time. They have access to a lot of good stuff. I think asking's always good. Yeah, Sketch City is an organization that does a lot with open data. Sketchcity.org is the name of the site. Yeah, I mean, events are mostly on hold, but yeah, there's a Slack channel there to join. Yeah, so that's a really good one. Honestly, a lot of it is assembling data sets. So like if David hadn't put together the map of the Wix centers, I would probably just do it by Google searching, finding lists, and then assembling a spreadsheet myself. So I think that kind of your own curiosity is always a really good source for data sets too.
Got it. So we have Elaine has another great question. How can you pull up Galveston on the seawall if you want to see the weather down there?
Yeah, so I don't know a way to plug in weather conditions to the maps. So I would probably say just weather.com is the way to do that. If anybody knows of a way to add weather conditions on, I'd be really curious to see that. But that's not something that's not something I found a way to do just yet.
Cool, Elaine. Let us know a little more about your question to see what the purpose of it, what you'd like it to do, and we could probably answer a little bit more. But that's a great one. I mean, I always love pushing boundaries too to see what all can I overlay on this stuff. Like, is addresses the only thing? What other data can I show?
Yeah, so in any of these like city boundary markers, yeah, you can always add those on. So I put a link to the super neighborhoods one in there too. You can do U.S. congressional districts, Texas Senate districts, kind of any of those. And then, yeah, I mean, that's something where, you can always either like assemble it by yourself through curiosity or, yeah, I think there was one, it's like if you wanted to map like rainfall levels, I think that was in the Kinder Urban Data Platform one. Mm-hmm. Then if you convert that to a KML file, then you can add that on top as a layer too.
Nice. That's excellent. Okay, so everybody, if you all want to go ahead and ask any other questions, drop them into the comments section. We have about 20 more minutes, a little bit less than that. And we want to answer anything that you all are working on, or maybe get some comments going on what you found is very useful in your work, that maybe you've found an awesome mapping tool or a new data set place. But go ahead and drop them into the comments. We'll talk about them. Evan, what'd you pull up over here? This was kind of cool. What is this?
Oh, so this was another example. So this was a data set that I adapted. So this was the 1930s Houston Redlining Map. And so I put this together in a digital format, but trying to find the original one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was the historical map showing the like redlined areas. And And then I just traced these, kind of doing the polygon tool that we showed before, and then ended up with this as a data set. So this is like another kind of thing that you could add on top.
Nice.
I put this available for public use on my site at definitedeclining.org. So that's like an open source available to anybody that wants to use it too.
Got it.
But yeah, so that was, I mean, obviously didn't make the map, but kind of assembled it from the map and digitized it. So that sort of thing is always open to do too.
That's excellent. So let's say I get this down and I'm looking for the next level up, the next step in my skill building of showing data on maps. What's the next level up for this?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot of different ways to go. I think, and something we talked about before is the first step, regardless of tools, is to find a community of people who are doing this. Because this is all like, it's all new technology. There's always new software and new tools that are coming out and new ways to use it, but kind of the core skills that you're building are things that you can really connect with other people and build those core skills and then share information about the different tools. So, I worked mostly in Mapbox. I think that was because the people who I was kind of learning alongside were working in Mapbox. ArcGIS is a really good one. And I'm going to drop the links in there so you can figure that out. People who I was kind of learning alongside were working in Mapbox. I just opened up Facebook and had to hear myself talk. God, I'm sorry.
That's the worst.
You'll have to listen to this. So yeah, Mapbox. And then ArcGIS is like a big industry standard. So I think like one of those two ways is probably how you want to get started.
Got it.
But yeah, I think the finding community part is really key. And that's something that I know we are interested. Like if you all are out there and interested in learning more about mapping and how we can apply this to all of our shared goals and shared work, please leave comments, email us, get in touch somehow. I think that's something we would love to kind of build some community around too. So yeah, and then for each tool, Mapbox has a lot of good tutorials to get you started. And it has a really generous free policy or free plan. Basically, like, you don't have to pay up until like huge amounts of usage. ArcGIS, I feel like, because it's such an industry standard thing, there's a lot of barrier. Like, it's a steeper learning curve. There's some more barriers to entry. So if you find the right network of people who are learning it too, then that's not a problem. It's a more costly program, so I mean, there's another barrier too. But I feel like it's a really cool technology that is a useful skill and can really play an important role in how you are like telling your stories and getting your information out online too. So it's one that, there's definitely bias there, but I think it's one that's worth learning. It's worth the investment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a storyteller. Video is my medium, but this has always been something that I feel needs to go hand in hand. Can go hand in hand with how you tell the story of your data, your organization.
Yeah. So here is and please, anybody with questions or you want to tell us about how you're using maps, please jump in. Carmen
has a good comment about. She thinks that's a great to build assets, an assets map in the community for disasters.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, Carmen, I'm curious if you don't mind sharing if how you all use maps in SEER, and if there are any. I mean, knowing that we are going into multiple disaster time frame right now, if there's anything you think would be a good use that hasn't been built yet, because I know building some of this stuff proactively could be really cool. So yeah, I'm curious what your experience says and if you have any ideas.
Cool. So tell us more about this, Evan. The 6 disasters, is 6 too many?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, well, hopefully Carmen is thinking of response there. So this is one that is this is a very rough draft, but just wanted to show one other way of kind of telling a narrative through maps. So I built this for a One Breath partnership and building it for One Breath partnership. So this is like, this is supposed to take you through all the chemical disasters that have happened in the past year. So there were 6 in 1 year. The idea is 6 disasters too many. So you start out with this overview of the whole region and then scroll down. And then this was the first one at Exxon, then another. And once we build it out more, there'll be more information to go along with it and more context to it. But it kind of goes from just like a list of all these incidents to, being able to really see the there's hospitals nearby. Like this is what it actually looks like, and you can kind of view it in context from where you live. Like, oh, like this one is by something a lot of people drive by frequently. So yeah, just another way to go from like a static image, or because this I think is a different experience and a different narrative than just a flat image. It's definitely different than like reading paragraph after paragraph of each thing that happened to. So yeah, I just kind of shared that in between some comments just as a way to show what some of the kind of next step possibilities are.
Yeah, this is excellent. I mean, this is so much more impactful than just a list in a paragraph or something.
Yeah, thanks. It looks like Elaine had a question. Can you post on mapping the pins, like where churches, community centers are? Yeah, definitely. So if we go back to David's map.
Yeah, so I guess so what you're doing right now is you're using this map that also can spit out different services, different things in the community, which is the list that you're going through right now. So those are the partners and resources list. And through there, I guess you can pull up churches, places of worship. So this is one way to do it, to get a list of everything.
Yeah, and I just went to this because, he'd already done the work of getting this all together. Otherwise, I think I would probably do it just by going to Google Maps and searching for churches and doing a lot of copying and pasting.
So that's a great scenario. Let's say we're not using this, right? And let's say I want some specific churches, and there isn't a list anywhere where I can get is it a CVS file, CSV file, right? So
it's part of that long receipt that they give you.
Yeah. So let's say I have a list of myself. What I guess columns do I need to put into a spreadsheet in order for it to be able to map? Like, I obviously I need the address, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter what I name it? Does it matter what I title it up at the top of the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
And is there like a specific format I need to follow? Or can I just dump stuff in there, fill it in myself, and then Google will know what to do with it?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And it's kind of closest to the last option you said there. I mean, especially working with Google, it knows everything about you. It will figure it all out. So really all you actually need is just the address. I think this template is like a good way to start, but I like having the name there and some other information is good. But yeah, you could really just have the address And I guess you do need a title. So yeah, then I think just to save time, because I know we are running pretty close to the end here.
Yeah, so what Evan's doing right now is he's manually putting in the data of the places that he wants mapped. So Elaine, to answer your question, this is another way to do it. Let's say you don't have a list of all of the addresses and names. Then all you have to do is open up a spreadsheet, start putting in the address, putting in the names, and then you'd be able to do the same process that Evan showed earlier on by uploading the file to the My Maps so that it'll map it out for you.
Yeah, so then basically the only other step is just go to File, Download, and then here you can pick which format you want it in, and then just select CSV, and then it pops up a save this file as. Hit OK, and then it's ready to put into the to add layer and import.
Right on. Excellent. So Teresa from Sear is also saying that all of this is all communities can benefit from this type of training and preparation for the upcoming hurricane season. So you're absolutely right, Teresa.
Yeah.
Evacuation routes are very necessary and useful. However, many local community orgs don't know how to do something like this. So yes, super right. I think evacuation routes would be an excellent thing to be able to map out like this.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that is actually something that is really good with Google too, is you can even add driving routes. So yeah, like let's say, yeah, you want to get to Huntsville, it'll show you the quickest way to get from any spot. So if you are working with an organization, who's right here, then yeah, you can even overlay like the best evacuation routes.
That's a great one. That's a great suggestion there, Teresa.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you're doing that, if there's anything that we can do to help, please let us know. I think we'd be really into that. And yeah, I mean, I remember from Harvey, I was involved with some of the maps and information sharing there. It's a lot better to do it ahead of time because it's pretty stressful. I think you want to be out helping, and if you can be a little proactive and getting some of these maps prepared ahead of time, and definitely getting people trained ahead of time, because that, I think, more than anything else, is when there's disasters happening in the city, that's not the best time to be learning new skills. I think like our brains just can't accept anything more.
Yeah. Carmen had a great comment earlier on about Denver Harbor and it being a great opportunity to maybe do an exercise like this with them to see what they already have, or what they do during a disaster. So Carmen, good comment. Yeah.
I think and that goes back to the kind of community building around this too. Like the more leaders, the more people who can take this to their communities and train people, and then they can train people and keeps growing, that opens up a lot of really good possibilities for how we can use this technology to help people.
Great. Well, Chris, let us know how we're doing. I think we are pretty much out of time. We have just a couple more minutes. This was our season finale. I want to appreciate the audience for joining us. I would love to hear a lot of feedback and suggestions for, do we need another season? Like, is this working? Do we want more? I think if we get some people to comment in what topics would be great to cover for next time, it'd be great, because I think this is such a neat opportunity for people to just, man, like this morning, if we have a conversation and we're trying to figure something out, this is the time where you can ask us and we can collectively try to answer it. So let us know what you like, what you want to hear, what you want to see.
Yeah, who your favorite characters were, if anyone should be written off.
We need to kill somebody off.
Bring back. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely want to, just echo what Nelson was sharing. Like, we really do want to know how to continue to support you all in the work that you're doing, grow the relevant skills when it comes to digital and communications that you are looking to develop. Because really, like was mentioned, there is not a necessarily, a pipeline for the development of these types of skills in our immediate area. So often we are pulling from trainers and educators outside of our region to educate us on a lot of these various skills. Of course, we do have a lot of people who are experts in certain types of digital communications. But I think when we get into this mapping and data, specifically for the type of community work that so many of the Houston in Action members and partners do, there's just some nuances and some specialties that really are are stronger when they're born from the communities that they're meant to support. And so we want to be able to as facilitators at Houston in Action, be able to facilitate those types of conversations and that type of learning and that type of building together. And so that's why we really appreciate your participation and your feedback. Really, I'm going to add in again our email addresses here so that you can reach out. I heard the idea for something happening in Denver Harbor, which is where my family's from. So I appreciate the focus there. And any other ideas that you have, we really do welcome. We do want to continue to support and would like your feedback and how that should look. I want to also thank Nelson for all the time and energy you've put into sharing your expertise here, and Evan as well. Thank you so much. This is as so many people have already noted, a huge service to the groups that we work with and the people who've tuned in and the people who will tune in later, and I think to the community at large. So I really, really thank you. Also, thanks to Thea on the back end. You don't always see Thea, but she's sometimes in the comments helping out and also helping to give feedback and prepare some of these presentations. So thank you, Thea. And honestly, just everybody at Houston in Action who's supported this little experiment of an idea that we had to create a Facebook Live 1 hour per week where we take these challenges, and of course everybody who participated. So thank you very much. And you can look back to the activity that we've had in the past by going to houstoninaction.org/support hours. And then also by going to our YouTube channel where we've uploaded or plan to upload all of the previous sessions that we've had, so you can check them out. They've all more or less followed a similar format, and you can compare it to the support hours website to see what you might have missed in the past and find the video you're looking for. Nelson, Evan, any final words for the season finale? Cue the tears. Should we do a cat hug?
We promise next season won't be like horribly written or anything.
We promise it's all downhill from here.
Your favorite characters will stay alive.
Well, with that, I have to go back to my home planet now.
Bye, Evan. Bye, Nelson. Bye, everybody out there.
Yeah, no, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing what you're doing. Looking forward to connecting with everybody beyond this season 2 and beyond.
Bye-bye.